helps these people. I mean, so much as buy them a Happy Meal, give them a ride. We're going to lock you up with them.
President Biden's signature awaits the $1.7 trillion spending bill that passed Congress. It will avert a government shutdown. ABC's Jay O'Brien in Washington has more on its provisions.
It bans TikTok on U.S. government devices. That's something that had bipartisan support, particularly when it passed in the Senate. Lawmakers there saying they were concerned that TikTok, which is owned by a Chinese company, could take user data and give it to the Chinese government. That's something TikTok's parent company, ByteDance, denies.
You're listening to ABC News.
You wash your hands, you brush your teeth, but what about the nose? How do you clean your nose? With Navage. Navage uses powered suction to pull saline in one nostril, around the back of the nose, and out the other nostril, flushing out allergens, mucus, and germs. And it's why cleaning your nose, the body's air filter, is the next evolution in daily personal hygiene. People try Navage for lots of reasons. Sinusitis, colds, allergies, snoring, things that make it hard to breathe through your nose. But over time, they find that cleaning their nose makes them feel better, a lot better. Over 3 million Navage users have written more than 100,000 reviews, averaging 4.7 stars, saying, best product I've ever used, and amazing, I love my Navage. Navage helps you breathe better, sleep deeper, and snore less, but the biggest payoff is improved health. Navage is good personal hygiene and can help you stay healthier. At Walmart, Walgreens, CVS, Rite Aid, Target, and online. Navage, N-A-V-A-G-E. Clean nose, healthy life.
As the war in Ukraine continues, ABC's Britt Clennett says Christmas Eve does not mean a halt to the fighting or the violence.
A deadly attack in central Kherson, killing at least 8 people. Dozens more are injured. And President Zelensky calling it terror killing, he says, for the sake of intimidation and pleasure. Now, the attack coming, of course, on Christmas Eve, which also happens to mark exactly 10 months since Russia invaded this country.
In Afghanistan, the Taliban's ordered domestic and foreign non-government organizations in the country to suspend the practice of employing women. The Plan B emergency contraceptive drug is getting a new label because many people thought it actually aborted a fertilized egg. The new FDA label clarifies it does not do that, but prevents the body from releasing an egg that might get fertilized. The IRS is giving a break to people who take in a lot of money on apps like Venmo and PayPal. ABC's Andy Field has the details.
Third-party payment apps or platforms including Venmo, Etsy, and Airbnb were supposed to start reporting to the IRS any payments over $600 you received. But everyone from tax attorneys to members of Congress complained. Now the IRS has delayed that mandatory reporting for at least another year. The old rules were that online transaction apps only had to report income if you had more than 200 business transactions and received more than $20,000 in 1 year.
This is ABC News.
You wash your hands, you brush your teeth, but how do you clean your nose? With Navage. Navage uses powered suction to pull saline in one nostril, around the back of the nose, and out the other nostril, flushing out allergens, mucus, and germs. And it's why cleaning your nose, the body's air filter, is the next evolution in daily personal hygiene. Navage helps you breathe better, sleep deeper, and snore less, but the biggest payoff is improved health. At Walmart, Walgreens, CVS, Rite Aid, Target, and online. Navage, N-A-V-A-G-E. Clean nose, healthy life.
Brian Clark, ABC News.
Welcome to Straight Talk and Retirement, your no-hype source for financial advice and making informed choices about your retirement planning. Get on the phone to talk today at 314-931-5877 or text your question to 84126.
The opinions voiced in this show are for general information only and are not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations for any individual. To determine which investments may be appropriate for you, consult with your attorney, accountant, and financial advisor or tax advisor prior to investing. Securities offered through LPL Financial, member FINRA SIPC. Investment advice offered through Private Advisor Group, a registered investment advisor. Private Advisor Group and JBL Financial Services, Inc. are separate entities from LPL Financial.
Now, here are your retirement coaches, Jeff and Aaron Lapidus.
Well, hello, St. Louis, and welcome to Straight Talk on Retirement. You're live and local, St. Louis's favorite financial call-in show. I'm Jeff Lapidus, president of JBL Financial Services. Our offices are located in beautiful, very chilly, downtown Olivet, Missouri. I'm a plus-year veteran in the financial services area, a fee-based financial planner and wealth manager. And I'm joined this week and every week by my very favorite oldest prodigal daughter, Erin Lapidus, who also is a fee-based financial planner and wealth manager, and Rob Markham, our life insurance and fixed annuity sales specialist.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
We help our clients make smart choices about their money. The way we do that is by designing a game plan, a written step-by-step strategy, a real game plan that has several goals in mind.
First is to preserve, protect, and prudently grow the assets our clients have taken their entire lifetimes to accumulate. Second is to deliver a reliable stream of income, one that they can count on, so they can do all the things they'd like to do during retirement.
And third is cost-effectively addressing their health care needs, like helping individuals enroll in Medicare and choosing the right plan to couple with their Medicare coverage.
And then when they're done enjoying their assets during their lifetime, we show them how to pass them on to the people they love, whether it's their spouses or children, grandchildren, churches, or charities, whoever it might be, with Uncle Sam or the tax courts taking a big bite out of their money. And as their wealth managers, Erin and I watch their money every single day to make sure they're staying on track. And that's why they call us the retirement coaches. Again, gang, good morning.
Good morn.
How cold is it where you are?
Well, I would not use the word cold. I would use the word temperate. It's about 50. It's about 58 degrees right now. 60 degrees.
Oh, that's summer weather.
60 degrees. It's negative 10.
Well, you know, St. Louis is never negative in my book. That's all I can tell you. But I'm sorry to hear that you folks are getting ready or in the midst of a cold spell. A lot of snow still on the ground, I guess.
Not really. They got a lot of it up. They did a pretty good job. We only got like a light dusting, but because of the wind, just throwing it around. But they did great work.
Well, that's fabulous. Well, again, it's Saturday, my favorite day of the week. We get to spend 2 hours with you. Our phone lines are open. We'd love to hear from you. Answer your questions. Get your text messages, 931-5877 or 84126 from the text line. And just as a reminder, all of our clients, they're folks like you. They're our listeners. They're 55 and older. They would like to retire or they're already retired. As I mentioned, our goal is to create a game plan for them so that they can have a fun, financially successful, and hopefully worry-free retirement. And we love doing that every week. And it's been kind of an interesting year, babe. Wouldn't you say?
I think that would be a nice way to put it.
Yeah, I mean, with so much uncertainty in the markets. You know, in the previous year, as we were getting towards the end of 2021, we saw a lot of people going, yeah, my accounts have really gone up. I'm in a position where I feel like I can retire. I want to get a second opinion on that. Jeff and Aaron created a game plan for us. And this year it's kind of slowed down because obviously we've had a little bit of ups and downs in the market.
I wouldn't say it slowed down. I just think the questions really changed, which is, I saw my accounts were more valuable at the end of 2021, and now I was wanting to retire this year, but can I still do it?
Well, again, I was just kind of getting to the fact that I know that our schedule is starting to fill up, which is fun, especially for the beginning of the year. Folks are trying to get a leap on things, get ahead of it, say, hey, is this my year? I feel like I can. In many cases, we're talking about confirmation. I know today we're going to talk about preparing for retirement, mentally, emotionally, financially, etc. And at the same time, the Congress, they just love to change things,
Well, this is almost like a heard it here first situation because they just passed the bill late Thursday night? Thursday night, I think.
Night.
Exactly, and I do want to get into that. Maybe we'll make it our first topic of the day. Of course, while we're waiting for phone calls and your text at 314-931-5877 or 84126 from the text line, there are ways that we can keep in touch with you, and frankly, you can keep in touch with us during the week, right?
That's right. Log onto our website, jblfinancial.com. From there, you can click in the upper right-hand corner. It says Contact Us. You can send us a question, a request for a coaching session. It could be financial, or it could be Medicare, or it could be both. Or you can click in the lower left-hand side of the screen, a pop-up box that appears in the lower left-hand side of the screen, that says Receive the Coach's Corner. And all you have to do is hit subscribe now, give us your email address and phone number, and we will send that out to you by email every single month.
And Erin and her staff to keep the last 6 to 8 months of those archived for your viewing, printing, or downloading convenience, which is great. And we're getting ready to close up the new year, or this year, 2022, getting ready for 2023, which is fun, right?
Absolutely.
Getting ready to hit, you'll be, actually, in a couple months, you'll be having your 10th anniversary with me.
That's right, 4 months from now.
Which is really fun, and we'll be entering year 17 in the show. So we've been here a long time. A fifth year, if you would. We are the longest running show on KTRS, which is obviously a great honor for us. And we certainly appreciate the support of our great staff. And I've got a chance to watch my producer grow up a little bit, Eric Gabrielson. And we love Tim Rice, also our producer, so thanks so much. Let's get it, babe, while we're waiting for calls at 314-931-5877, as well as our texts at 84126. Why don't we kick off what just happened? You know, it's interesting because what was it, 2 years ago? They moved the required minimum distribution age from 70 and a half to 72, but then they moved it again. They're planning on moving it a fourth time.
That's right. I think the really nice thing about this particular move is it doesn't leave anybody in the gap like it did a few years ago. Essentially, what Congress has decided now is that they're going to move the required minimum distribution age from 72 to 73 starting January 2023. So that means if you are 71 right now, you do not have to take your required minimum distribution next year as if you had planned. But if you are 72 right now and all the way up until December 31st, so if there are any New Year's Eve babies out there, you're going to have to take the 73 distribution.
Yes, I think that's probably the most significant one. And then supposedly 10 years from now, God knows what will happen within the next 10 years, they'll be raising the required minimum distribution age to 75.
I was also kind of hoping eventually that they start to re-amortize the distribution amount, because that's something that they haven't the distribution percentage rather, because that's something they haven't addressed in the last two and now upcoming third change.
Yeah, I would be surprised if they didn't, truthfully, that they didn't increase the numbers. You know, the same thing that they did with inherited, and we call them beneficiary IRAs.
But that would ruin the purpose. I guess that would be the backhanded way to get more of their money back faster.
Well, look, this government, unfortunately, has a wonderful record of spending when they shouldn't. Mm-hmm. And they need the tax revenue. So the easiest way to get tax revenue is from people that have money.
The other nice thing that they've done for individuals that maybe miss their required minimum distribution starting next year, instead of making that penalty 50% of whatever you were supposed to take and did not, they've reduced that down to 25%.
That was very generous of them.
Well, it used to be the most onerous penalty in the tax code, essentially, but now I guess it's still probably pretty bad.
Not as bad.
I think that certainly makes a lot of sense, because we know that in many cases, folks have IRAs or have created IRAs at many different places. Sometimes it's the bank, sometimes it might be a credit union, as well as working with maybe multiple financial advisors. And you even have people that have plans still with old companies. Gathering all that information isn't always easy, and certainly that's a question that we also have very often, which is, how can I consolidate my IRAs, and does it make sense to do that? And I would certainly say, before we start talking a little bit more about a few of the tax changes, and I think those are really the two most significant ones that are happening now. Other ones are really being postponed until next year. But having that information, in most cases there aren't truly any economies of scale. You're getting discounts by combining assets, because if you're working in fee-based accounts with a fee-based financial advisor, someone who might be considered a fiduciary or working in a fiduciary capacity for you, you don't have break points. That's what brokers do, where you're buying and you're getting discounts. With investment advisory accounts, that doesn't happen. But you're also saving custodial fees. I mean, why pay 2 or 3 or 4 custodians to report your IRA amounts, which they're required to do each year to the Internal Revenue Service? Having everything in one place certainly makes it more manageable, and also I think it permits you to truly synergize your investments a little bit better than having them in multiple places. And then obviously you don't run afoul of these IRS reporting penalties and requirements, which they have, and they just keep changing them.
Well, I also think it's important to kind of note, which is just because you're holding all of your assets with one custodian doesn't mean it's all invested in the same thing. So the idea that you have all of your eggs in one basket really isn't the case. You just happen to be consolidating to the point where you can see all of your investments in one place, and you're having one custodian do the reporting for you.
Yeah, I think that's certainly a good idea. But I do like the fact that they have pushed it off another year, which means that we're going to get 47,000 phone calls, especially from clients. Because
we certainly won't be getting 47,000 phone calls. We're going to send an email out to all of our clients that thought they were going to have to start their required minimum distributions next year, letting them know they're off the hook for one more year.
Early Christmas present.
Oh, really, truly.
There you go.
Right.
Courtesy of Uncle Sam. Who knew it?
Well, Uncle Sam did a couple of those. Obviously, what they did was they gave us a little bit more clarification also on the beneficiary IRA rules, where we now know that if the person that you inherited your IRA from was receiving and taking required minimum distributions, when you inherit that IRA, you have to at least take out those distributions, and then obviously ultimately have that account emptied within a 10-year period. Otherwise, you're going to get hit with this new onerous, it's still an onerous penalty, but you're still going to get hit with that penalty. So,
and that's only for individuals who are inheriting IRAs from individuals who have passed away after January of 2022 or 2021. Yeah. I'm sorry.
So if you inherit a IRA and they're already taking distributions, at the very minimum, you have to take what they were taking, and you still have to have it emptied within 10 years.
Right, so there is a minimum, so there's a floor on how much you're required to take. However, there is no maximum, with the caveat that after the 10th year, the account needs to be liquidated.
Gotcha.
Yeah, well, I would say the only exception to that would be is if the person that you inherited the IRA from was not over 70 and a half.
No, not over. It would be over 72 at this point, because the law didn't go into effect until after they had raised the minimum distribution age.
I know Steve Allen, I think, said, "I'm so confused."
The 10-year rule supersedes also. Even if you inherited an IRA from someone who wasn't taking distributions, you'd still be required to empty that within 10 years.
Right, unless you are under the age of 18 when you inherit the IRA, then you only have to take, you could take nothing or minimum distributions until you're 18 years old, then you have to liquidate it by the 28th birthday.
Oh, that's so rotten. That is so rotten. Just had to say it.
Well, listen, Uncle Sam
gotta
needs
pay
the
for this
tax
stuff
dollars.
Somehow.
I know, Ukraine needs our money.
Yeah.
All right, enough of that.
All right, yeah. You got to show Rob the door. We can't even go there.
Inappropriate, out of bounds. Next.
Well,
red card.
Very good. So those are a couple of the biggies. obviously, there have been some further incentives that have been created for small employers to create plans for employees. There's also other things like automatic enrollment rules, which have also changed, which are really going into for new plans, not necessarily for older plans.
I also thought the one nice thing that they added that won't go into effect until 2024 is if you happen to be someone that needs to get a little bit of money from your retirement account, but you're under the age of 59 and a half, they're going to loosen the rules a little bit for you, and you're allowed to take $1,000 emergency distribution. You'll still pay taxes, but you won't pay the penalty for having taken the distribution early.
That's a nice step in the right direction. I mean, baby step.
Baby, I don't know what $1,000 will do for you in an emergency, but it's possible that it might help out a little bit.
At least the tide is going in the right direction. You know, they're moving the age up. They're, you know, giving you a break on the $1,000 temporarily.
Right.
I don't know. We've always tried, or at least I've tried to preach, if you want to use a good word, to new participants that, this 401k plan is not really a savings account. It's a long-term investment account.
Right.
And whether it's making loans, if you have loan provisions that are available to you, or having hardship, as they're called, distributions that are made, you lose in two ways. Number one is that the money isn't in there earning interest, which is a big deal because, frankly, it's the long-term compounding of interest that really makes this thing work. And then, secondarily, you have tax effects. If you aren't paying things back on time, which in the way you pay them back is through employee payroll deductions. If you miss them, well, guess what? Now you've got income tax incidents. You also have penalties because most people doing this are under 59 and a half. If you're over 59 and a half, you just make a distribution to your IRA. So you really don't want to touch these things, and that's why when you're getting into the plans, whether it's for the first time or maybe you're changing employers, looking at what your contribution percentage is, and frankly, we've kind of gone away from a percent of pay deal. We've really gone to dollar limitations. So, you can truly put in, depending on your income, up to 100% of your income up to the first $25,000 in a 401k plan if you're over the age of 50.
And that's going to move up to $29,000 for the next year for 2023.
Yeah, and I was going to say, I know that the simple plans, which are basically company-sponsored IRAs with higher contribution limits, those were changing, but I was a little confused with the language about whether the catch-up provisions, which is the extra contributions that can be made by the employer as well as the employee, the participant, have also gone up at the same rate as the 401k ones have.
I don't think it's I would have to do the math on the percentage, but it didn't seem like it was going up the same percentage-wise as the 401ks. That seems to be the retirement vehicle of choice for the federal government to manipulate. And
that's because of the reporting.
Right. We have a caller on the line. Mike has a question about a Roth IRA.
Good morning, Michael.
Good morning. How are you guys?
Doing well, thanks.
Good, and happy holidays to you. Quick question. My wife and I started Roth a couple of years ago, and I'm 68, she's 61, and when our days are done, when we die, how are the Roths distributed? Can they keep them as their own Roths, or do they have to take distributions out of those?
So, unfortunately, they cannot stay as Roths. What will happen is it's the same process as an inherited traditional IRA, which means, your investment advisor, representative, or your children's, whomever they might be working with, will create beneficiary Roth IRAs in your children's name and your own, and as well as your wife's. That money will be split however you've determined between your children, and then they won't have to pay taxes on the distributions. However, they will have to liquidate those Roth IRAs within that 10-year period.
Okay. Well, thank you. Same rules, same rules. That's what we can prepare from there then.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much.
Of course, it is a little bit, you have put your children in a little bit nicer of a position with those Roth IRAs because they won't have to, those distributions will be tax-free versus with your traditional IRAs, they'll be taxable even though it'll still have to be liquidated. So a little bit advantaged, I guess.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much. I do appreciate it. Okay?
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks,
Merry Christmas.
Thanks, Mike. You got me in trouble.
Why's that? Oh, because you don't have any Roths?
Well, I was in a position where I was never able to make contributions to Roth IRAs because of the income limitations previously. And the only way that I would be able to turn my traditional IRAs into Roth IRAs would be do a Roth conversion.
And you just don't love us that much?
That's a religious thing. That's a religious thing with me that I'm not going to do. And the other side is, I don't even like my kids that much. You know what I mean?
That's what I thought.
Every time I hear Roth conversion come out of your dad's mouth, I just think Clubber Lang, pain.
That's a great Mr. T reference. Mike did bring up a great point about the Roth, or just bringing up the Roths, though. The one other pretty significant change, in my opinion, that the new legislation, or the omnibus bill that they passed overnight, included was for individuals that have access to Roth 401ks. If you're making Roth 401k contributions, your employer match is actually going into your pre-tax account. So regardless of if you're making the full contribution or a partial contribution between the traditional 401k and the Roth 401k, all of your matching dollars now go into the pre-tax account. Now they're allowing employers to give employees the option of having that match go into the after-tax account. However, it sounds like you'll be picking up the taxes on that. So that would be a decision that you would want to make. You'd probably want to have a longer conversation with your accountant or advisor before you made that decision, just because it probably will affect your taxes. But it is a nice additional bonus that they've offered.
Yeah, why not? I mean, and again, unfortunately, none of these things are permanent. So it's a poker game. What happens is you play the hand you're dealt. Period. So we know we do have some new rules. We also know we have to take our first break of the hour, right?
That's
yes,
right.
We do.
And we come back, we'll be here to answer your questions and calls at 314-931-5877 or 84126 from the text line. I'm Jeff Lapidus, the retirement coach.
I'm Aaron Lapidus, the retirement coach.
And I'm Rob Markham, your fixed annuities and life insurance specialist. Don't touch that dial. We'll be right back.
Happy holidays, courtesy of Renewal by Andersen. And if you're looking for windows and doors, get ready for Renewal by Andersen's Window and Door Triple Savings Event. 1. Save 20% plus an extra $50 on every window. 2. Save 20% plus an extra $100 on every entry door. And 3. Save 20% plus an extra $100 on every patio door. That's triple the savings, courtesy of Renewal by Andersen, the home of Fibrix windows that are 2 times stronger than vinyl. They also come in 9 exterior colors, and they're backed by the nation's best warranty. You want something else? How about this? 0 interest for 4 years. That's huge. Give yourself the gift that saves you money with the Window and Door Triple Savings Event, courtesy of Renewal by Andersen. 1-877-WINDOWS. That's 1-877-WINDOWS to schedule your free, no-obligation installation proposal, or RBASTL.com. That's 1-877-WINDOWS or RBASTL.com.
So, seems to be the problem. It's kind of embarrassing. It's hard to talk about. I know, Mr. Dwelling, this can be a tough topic, but early detection actually helps us prevent larger issues.
Well, lately, I've been petting myself.
Is your house complaining of ailments or showing signs of its age? Helitech Home Care Specialists are on standby for free consultation, diagnosis, and even to schedule your annual foundation checkup.
Heal your home with Helitech.
This is Jeff Lapidus, the retirement coach. Wouldn't it be great to have a game plan, a real strategy, so that no matter what was going on in the stock market, the economy, or the world, that you could be confident about your retirement? Wouldn't that be great? If you're within 5 years of retirement, call me today at 314-863-0008. That's 314-863-0008. 888-888-0008 or send me an email, jeff@jblfinancial.com, to arrange your free coaching session. Let's get started on your retirement game plan today.
Let's talk about smart choices for your money. It's Straight Talk and Retirement on the Big 550 KTRS. Here are your retirement coaches, Jeff and Aaron Lapidus.
Well, it's about halfway through the first hour of Straight Talk on Retirement. I'm Jeff Lapidus, the retirement coach, joined by my favorite oldest prodigal daughter, Aaron Lapidus, who also is a fee-based financial planner and wealth manager, and Rob Markham, our life and annuity insurance specialist. Here to answer your calls. We'd love to hear from you this morning. Mike broke the ice a few minutes ago, so let's keep those calls and texts coming, 314-931-5877 or 84126 from the text line. Honey, I know that earlier you were mentioning that you're getting ready to prepare an email.
Couple of emails.
A couple emails to go to our clients, certainly talking about, number one, what are some of the tax changes that they need to think about? And secondly, also about our outlook for 2023, especially in regards to portfolio management and strategy. And I thought it might be a good idea for us to take a couple minutes, share some of our thoughts, because all of our clients are our listeners, so we know they're listening, which is great. And this will give us an opportunity to give them a little peek into the email that we're seeing. You know, I thought it was curious. Yesterday, I was, your mom has Fox on for, 24 hours a day. And so I happened to pick up the Fox News business segment, and there was a discussion about how we really have this push-pull that's happening between the Congress, or, that branch of government, and then obviously the Federal Reserve. The Fed has been trying to pull money from the system, liquidity from the system, and at the same time, we have our government throwing in $1 trillion back into the system.
I think it's 1.9 trillion, I think was the number.
Maybe we get them in a conference call. And
broker a deal?
Yeah, so they're at least on the same page. The right hand can know what the left hand is doing.
Well, I think the operative phrase there, Rob, is broke. And, the problem that we have here is that we've got competing interests, which I believe is going to lead to, unfortunately, continued inflation, as well as it's going to slow the inflation, the pullback on inflation. And at the same time, I think what's going to happen is that the financial markets aren't going to necessarily react too well to this. I mean, I don't think we're going to see the recovery happening in the markets as quickly. That's just my opinion. What do you think?
I don't disagree with that. I think we have a lot of competing things going on. Like you mentioned earlier in the show, from 2021 going into 2022, we had a pretty positive outlook, thinking that even though rates were going to rise, we'd still be in a relatively loose monetary environment, meaning there'd still be enough excess cash around for people to continue to purchase equities, which is what obviously helps those, which obviously helps the appreciation of value in stocks. However, what seems to have happened over the course of the year is that hasn't been the case due to, like you just mentioned, that push-pull between different branches of government, or the government and the Federal Reserve. And with all that being said, just like you mentioned, we're going to hold off on our December rebalance. Over the course of the year, through the changes that we made to client portfolios, we have enough cash generated to continue to meet those monthly distribution obligations for clients well into 2023, also for any of their capital income needs. So our decision is that we want to hold the current portfolio that we have constructed and see how the beginning of the year begins, because, a lot of these rallies that we've seen over the course of this bear market, starting really in the summer and into the fall, have been based on the idea that we're going to see the Fed pull back in its interest rate increases, and that maybe they'd be able to pull off this soft landing, what they keep referring to. And I think moving into 2023, we're not convinced, like you said, that inflation is going to come down as rapidly as some anticipate. I kind of believe the Fed chair at the moment and think that that 75 basis point hike over the course of the year is going to happen. So I think the conditions are still set that it might be a longer time before we see a full market recovery. So we'd like to be able to take the time to position the accounts accordingly.
Yeah, and I think that it would be also fair to say that this also is a buying opportunity. You know, we know that most securities, their price is down anywhere from, if you're in the tech sector, it could be as much as 50%.
Or 75 in some cases.
Yeah.
Right. But the overall, the S&P 500 is down over 20% for the year. So what we're really looking at is an opportunity to buy in. It's, you know, hindsight truly is 2020. So continuing to make contributions to your retirement plans as you're going makes sense. At the same time, I think what Aaron is saying is certainly we already made a tactical decision almost 6 months ago to have cash available. And what we're doing now is with our clients is we're tactically entering and purchasing positions that we think will, we hope, hold up well during these inflationary as well as potentially a recessionary environment. And it's not easy. So paying attention to your portfolio, or frankly having an advisor leading on that person to be watching your portfolio, this is really the time where I think advisors earn their money, right? Which is having that calm and steady hand to say, okay, we're going to get invested. And frankly, we know that when we do see the catalyst that, and there will be one, that will make the market turn towards our next, and really the beginning of the next truly bull market, you have to be ready. And you have to be ready not only to make changes, to get invested, but at the same time, in terms of our game plans for our clients' retirement, we're not making a recommendation anybody goes back to work.
No, because in our game plan, we didn't plan for this to happen in this moment, but we know over any 20-year period, there are multiple times in history where we've seen significant pullbacks in the market. So that has to be factored into when we're working with individuals to determine if they're ready for retirement, financially at least.
And I think, again, what it really comes down to is your algebra. You know, when we look at your expenses, your lifestyle and living expenses, when we look at, which we call the outflows, we then compare those to your inflows, which could be pensions, Social Security, could be rental income, it could be income from your retirement accounts or other types of sources. How do those two meet? How do they match up? And really, at the end of the day, if we do need to withdraw money from retirement accounts, either because you've become a grown up and you're old enough now, 72, 73. Or alternatively, if we need to supplement your other sources of income with money from your retirement accounts, are we making a prudent withdrawal? Are we staying hopefully close to that 4%? There may be times that we need to pull more, and that's fine. But we know we're confident. We don't know, but we're confident. History shows us that after these downturns, the market has traditionally turned around. Whether they're Republican administrations or Democrat administrations, they all come to an end, and they recycle. Similarly, I was talking to a client the other day about this, honey. I think this is a big one.
Well, before we get to that, you know, we've had Jeff, not you, but another Jeff, Holding on the line. He's got a question for us this morning.
Good morning, Jeff.
Hi, yes, I have a general question about inheriting life insurance. So we had a family member pass away, and in inheriting the policy, we received interest, which I expect will be reported through like a 1099. But then, you know, of course, we received the proceeds from the policy. And it's my understanding the proceeds of a policy are not generally taxable. But if you receive those proceeds, does a life insurance company send you is there some kind of related form, like a 1099 reports interest, that instead somehow talks about the proceeds that you received relative to the IRS, or is it just something you don't report because the proceeds are not taxable?
Jeff, not to worry. There always is the IRS always requires reporting. The insurance companies do it for you. You'll receive most likely what's called a 1099-R, which is frankly informational. Because if you are the named beneficiary of a life insurance policy, Section 101 of the Internal Revenue Code, because it's in there, says that beneficiaries that receive life insurance proceeds, those proceeds are received income tax-free. So you don't have to worry about reporting that income on your 1040. You don't have to worry about the insurance company reporting that the proceeds. But you are correct. If you have permitted that money to stay there earning interest, and probably I would assume this hasn't been a long period of time before you've collected the money, that interest-bearing account that it's in will have to report interest to the Internal Revenue, and you will have to pick up that interest income as ordinary income. So, good question, right?
Always important to
basically we collected probably within 2 months of them passing. So the interest amount, a small amount seems to reflect the time the policy sat till they distributed it.
Yes.
So that would be taxable interest. But yeah, like you said, I guess we would get a 1099-R maybe on the proceeds, but there's probably some checkbox of some sort that says it's reportable, not taxable, something to that nature.
Yes, and your accountant won't need to, or you won't need to actually, that won't be reflected on your income tax return in any slot. So you're fine to go. The insurance companies and actually the life insurance vehicle itself is really one of the truly preferred vehicles that are the Internal Revenue Code. I mean, if you think about it, what's happening is
what's happening? I guess we lost him. I think what my dad was mentioning is that essentially what's happening is you paid taxes in terms of premium, or you paid premium with after-tax dollars to create this, or your loved one did that for years on end to create this tax-free death benefit for you. So as long as your loved one and you have followed all the rules that are set out by Section 101, which most life insurance policies do, you'll be able to receive those proceeds tax-free. Just like my dad said, that 1099-R looks very similar to if you have ever done a 401k rollover from a 401k to an IRA, or between IRA accounts, you'll receive another 1099-R, which is just informational for you and not reportable as income.
Yeah, I think, again, life insurance, and the purpose people create life insurance is because they want to create capital or dollars to take care of the people they love, whether it's their spouse or children or grandchildren, maybe charities, it could be money to help their business. But people taking positive steps to do that is something that the government wants to incent. Just like they continue to change the requirement of distribution age, they continue to change the amounts that can be put in. They want you to take care of yourself and the people you love. And so they're creating opportunities. And the nice part is, this part of the code is something that truly rarely, and we're talking about rarely, ever comes under scrutiny or discussion in terms of making changes.
The insurance lobby is large and strong.
Well, also people recognize that, what's the real purpose here? Young family, a lot of cases we're talking about people are purchasing life insurance when they're younger. What they're trying to do is protect themselves from an untimely death, and what impact that would have on their families in terms of a loss of income of that breadwinner. And in this case, in the last two generations, really we're talking about two income families. It isn't. We're needing both incomes to maintain our lifestyles, and so therefore proceeds really are there to replace, as I like to say, the golden goose, that cash register that was creating income for the family. That's a needed thing. And I think what's nice is that kind of dovetails us into, what a great call, Jeff. And, just so you know, Jeffrey, as my mom always said, all the good-looking guys are named Jeff. So this kind of dovetails us into a discussion, which I hope to have this morning, about maybe one of the most overlooked options that are available to people in your employment years, which is group term life insurance.
Before we get into that topic, I think we should take our second break of the hour.
Well, you have the calm, Mr. Savick, so no problem. We'll take our second break of the hour. Don't touch that dial. Aaron and Rob and I will be right back after these messages.
Permajack of St. Louis is synonymous with foundation repair and basement waterproofing across the St. Louis region. They know when you get water in your basement following a storm or when the snow melts, it means you have a problem. Make sure your basement doesn't leak or flood with Permajack of St. Louis. Permajack's basement waterproofing experts can perform a complete inspection of your basement to determine the problem and design a solution to keep water from entering and damaging your home. The solution could be as simple as crack repair or a sump pump, or more comprehensive like exterior waterproofing or an internal perimeter drainage system. No matter the solution, your basement will be dry with Hometown Permajack. Schedule a free inspection and estimate by visiting permajackofstlewis.com. That's permajackofstlewis.com. Permajack, foundation repair and waterproofing. Done right.
This is Erin Lapidus, the retirement coach. Wouldn't it be great to have a game plan, a real strategy, so that no matter what was going on in the stock market, the economy, or the world, you could be confident about your retirement? Wouldn't that be great? If you're within 5 years of retirement, call me today at 314-863-0008. That's 314-863-0008. Or send me an email at aaron@jblfinancial.com to arrange your free coaching session. Let's get started on your retirement game plan today.
Let's talk about smart choices for your money. It's Straight Talk and Retirement on the Big 550 KTRS. Here are your retirement coaches, Jeff and Aaron Lapidus.
9:49 here on the Big 550 KTRS. Talk Radio St. Louis. We're almost through the first hour. Our phone lines are open. We'd love to hear from you. 314-931-5877 or 84126 from the text line. Babe, I'm assuming we don't have any texts at this moment, correct?
No, we don't.
Okay, well, our last caller, Jeff, the good-looking one, had a question about life insurance, and I guess he had received proceeds from a parent or an uncle or somebody like that, where the question was, are those proceeds income tax-free? The answer is yes. They do get reported to Uncle Sam, but you don't have to show those on your tax return. And the interest that was earned on those proceeds before they were received are generally held in a savings account by the insurance company, and any interest would be taxable and reportable to you. I think this is a great time for us to talk about, in my mind, one of the most overlooked benefits that are there, especially in creating protection for one's family, which is your group term life insurance. Generally, it's paid for by your employer. And the cool part is, Rob, how much of this, the first so much is also income tax-free benefit to you, right?
The first 50,000.
So your employer could purchase up to $50,000 on you. Most companies do either a flat amount, usually $10,000 or $15,000, et cetera, or they're using a multiple of earnings schedule, and very inexpensive. But the question is, are you taking advantage of, and possibly your employer may also offer the opportunity for you to purchase supplemental life insurance which is one benefit. And also a benefit that's generally tied to the basic plan is dependent life insurance. Why don't we talk a little bit about that?
Supplemental life insurance is term insurance that you pay for through your paycheck. So you can purchase the amount you need with, a really easy payroll deduction. So just like you were talking about, Dad, a lot of employers offer the first $50,000 and then they'll offer you the opportunity to supplement that either in a dollar amount or as a multiple of your income. And they will let you know for each, $1,000 you're buying, how much will be deducted from your paycheck.
Another great feature is supplemental life insurance can be purchased in certain amounts without medical underwriting. So you can get coverage without having to go and have a doctor's appointment and have him look you over and answer a bunch of questions.
Right, and the great thing about that is because it's standard issue, if after all of your years of service, when you decide to retire, maybe you aren't in as good of health, or maybe you have some issues that would make your insurance more expensive, you're actually able to take that term life insurance with you as a whole life contract, and you don't have to go through medical underwriting at that point either.
Yes, and while you're paying for this insurance, supplemental life premiums are typically banded in 5-year age increments. So as an example, 30 to 34, 40 to 45, et cetera, et cetera. So it can be affordable. It can be done easily through payroll deduction. It can also be done in many cases without medical underwriting. That's all good.
Absolutely, and dependent life insurance coverage is for your spouse and your children. And the spousal benefit is usually 50% of the employee benefit, as is the child as well.
Yeah, and the child benefits are 50% of the spousal benefits. So
like 25%.
Right, exactly. So what you're really looking at is, if you have a $20,000 benefit, your spouse might be eligible to be covered for $10,000, and then obviously each child for $5,000. And this is really, I have to tell you something, folks. This really makes a lot of sense, and you really need to look at your plan and make sure that you're taking advantage of these things.
Or you can take this beautiful holiday opportunity, if you already happen to be retired, to chat with your children that are still working. Maybe they have access to this and they don't even know. What a great holiday topic while you're opening Christmas gifts, to make a few suggestions.
Yes,
right?
because we know. Because we know that if you're under 55, these are usually you're in your highest. I like to say earning years, but also generally it's your highest spending years, and you have a lot of demands on your money. Not just lifestyle expenses, but also you have college education. You're obviously dealing with debt, educational expenses, etc.
You probably still have a mortgage.
That's right. So in many cases, because these obligations, especially when it comes to income, and frankly, also when it comes to, if you're interested in making sure that, life insurance is covering the potential cost of education if you were to die prematurely, it makes sense to rent it. Term insurance, use it, rent it for the period of time that you need it, and then obviously it gets dropped if it isn't cashed in. So that's certainly something you can do. And then obviously taking the balance, if any, and really directing that towards your long-term savings, whether it's your vault, whether it's your retirement plan, or even a personal investment account. So you got to take, again, I think a lot of cases taking the time and taking the opportunity to take advantage of what's in front of you really makes a lot of sense. And this is a good time during the year, especially because I'm sure you've recently just gone through your annual medical enrollment. Dust off your employee handbook or go to the computer, which in most cases you do, and, go to that website and look at what your benefits are and see, hey, am I really taking advantage of these? Because hopefully you've got a few days left to make a change in your election.
If you are working for an employer that offers group term life insurance, are you automatically enrolled in that first $50,000, or do you have to make that election?
My last employer had group term. I took advantage of it, and you have to. It was up to $25,000 that they would pay for. Mm-hmm. Anything beyond that, you had
to elect.
Exactly. But again, if you're not asking, if you're not getting with your human resources
department.
Correct. If you're not getting with them, these things could be available to you, and you just not know about them. I didn't know about them, and someone clued me in, and it literally cost nothing to get $25,000 of group term insurance. That is convertible, so it's not like you can't take it with you, and it's just a matter of knowing.
Yes, and in most cases, like Rob was saying, because the premium is employer paid, if it's under what we would call a non-contributory plan, which means that you're not actually making a contribution to secure that benefit, then it's really up to you to make sure you get enrolled because it's free. You're obviously able to name your own beneficiary. You can change that beneficiary as often as you like.
At no cost to you.
That's right. And really tailor make those benefits. So I think, again, group term life, like your other employer benefits, is really important. And, fortunately, Aaron and I have anyways, have had a large employee benefits practice, which was really the basis or jumping pad, a launch pad, for me to become the retirement coach some 20 years ago. And we still work with over 40 companies here in the city in doing consulting for that. And we're certainly open to help other small companies, whether it's making sure that your employees understand their benefits, taking advantage of them, because really it's your employer dollars that are paying for these, and then at the same time helping them get involved with their retirement plan benefits, getting the most out of them that they can. And then, frankly, it's kind of cool, as we like to call it, that you have an advisor on your payroll. So it's a good deal.
Right. I think since we've got just about 2 minutes left, we had an email question come in that actually is related to employer retirement plan benefits.
And the emailer wants to know, my new company does not offer 401k. What are my best options for saving for retirement?
Well, that's unfortunate. Because you don't have access to a 401k plan or another retirement plan through your employer, the nice thing is you still have the opportunity to make that IRA contribution, which will be tax deductible for you. And depending upon if your spouse or if you have a spouse and they have access to a 401k plan, either you can help your spouse maximize their contributions by pushing more of their pay towards the retirement plan contributions and taking more of your and being able to take your pay home, or you can also add to that the IRA contribution.
Yeah, babe, I think you make a good points there. And I like to think of it in terms of dollars. You have a certain amount of dollars that are available to you, and you may even look at some other unusual ways. As an example, what if you, as an example, let's just say that you had eligibility under your healthcare plan to be involved in an HSA. Well, if you don't have a retirement plan, maybe it makes sense to go the other way, right? Which is to go, okay, I'll make an HSA contribution, which truly is even better than a 401k contribution.
Right. Your HSA contribution is going to go in pre-tax. It'll have the opportunity to grow tax deferred. And then if you take it out for medical expenses, which you absolutely will have over the course of time, that could be co-pays, it could be glasses, it could be visits to the dentist, it could be surgeries along the way for anyone that you report on your tax return, not just yourself. So, with that being said, we're going to take our last break of this hour, and we'll be right back after the news.
This is KTRS St. Louis, the Big 550, and KTRS.com.
From ABC News, I'm Brian Clark. Real consequences from the extreme weather sweeping the country in western New York.
There are still likely hundreds of people still stuck in vehicles, including individuals who tried to drive out in the late night hours last night.
There is a driving ban, reminds people, from Erie County Executive Mark Poloncarz. He said 2 people died overnight after first responders could not reach their homes. The National Guard is arriving to the area today. Duke Energy in North Carolina is asking customers to conserve energy and warning of possible outages. ABC's Mark Remillard has details.
The utility says customers may see intentional outages in 15 to 30-minute blocks to share the load. Likewise, in Tennessee, due to freezing temperatures, the Tennessee Valley Authority says customers in the Nashville electric service area will see sporadic power outages in roughly 10-minute blocks until it can stabilize the grid to meet the increased demand.
Mayor of Nashville asking the NFL to postpone today's Titans game. No word from the league on whether that will happen. Weather also having a significant disruption for air travel. More than 1,800 flights already canceled today. Pavan Patel's trying to get from Detroit to India for his own wedding.
Everybody's there. I'm the last person to fly out.
It is what it is. I hope it was different circumstances, but can't really complain.
Police in Minnesota looking for a suspect after a 19-year-old was killed following an argument between two groups Friday at the Mall of America.
Video shows them getting into some type of verbal fight, and fists started to fly, and then one person decided to pull out a gun and shoot somebody.
It's Bloomington Police Chief Booker Hodges. The mall was locked down. It's open today. The store where the shooting happened is closed. The $1.7 trillion government funding bill passed the House, now en route to President Biden for his signature, keeps the government funded through September. You're listening to ABC News.
Like bones, your teeth lose density and become weaker over time, which can lead to tooth decay. And that can make your visit to the dentist feel like this. But if you want your dental visit to feel like this, try Crest Densify. Crest Densify actively rebuilds tooth density to extend the life of teeth by remineralizing enamel. Densify from Crest, the #1 toothpaste brand in America. Smile, Crest has you covered.
Technology lets you check out faster.
Insert card or tap to pay. Please wait for receipt.
But to help your teams work faster, you need more than technology. You need CDW to implement Adobe Acrobat Pro. It allows unlimited e-signatures, drives efficiency across devices, and offers greater reliability than paper-based workflows.
Please load more receipt paper.
Adobe makes paperless efficiency possible. CDW makes it powerful. Learn more at cdw.com/acrobat.
Third-party payment apps or platforms like Venmo are supposed to begin reporting to the IRS any payments over $600 that people received. The IRS has delayed that mandatory reporting for at least another year, which means the old rules remain in effect. They say people must report income if there were more than 200 business transactions and they received more than $20,000 in a year. Rapper Tory Lanez was convicted for the 2020 shooting of rapper Megan Thee Stallion.
The jury got it right. I am thankful there's justice for Meg, says Megan Thee Stallion's attorney Alex Spiro, after the jury on Friday found rapper Tory Lanez guilty on 3 felony counts in the 2020 Hollywood Hills shooting. Megan broke down in court recounting that night and the trauma that has followed. Los Angeles County District Attorney George Gascon says in a statement that, quote, women, especially black women, are afraid to report crimes like assault and sexual violence because they are too often not believed. This trial, he continues, highlighted the numerous ways that our society must do better for women. Jason Nathanson, ABC News, Hollywood.
China continues to deal with its first large-scale national wave of COVID-19 as the government recently eased restrictions. ABC's Lama Hassan has more.
China has a low vaccination rate among the elderly, which could make a lot more people vulnerable. And with the Lunar New Year coming up in January, a time when many people will be traveling across the country, the fear is the number of COVID cases are only going to rise.
This is ABC News.
And now a message from Puffs Plus Lotion Tissues. Ordinary tissues can leave you with a red nose, so choose Puffs Plus Lotion for all of your blows. Puffs have lotion to soothe sensitive skin, so you can wipe without wincing. It's a win-win. Puffs have cushiony thickness, which brings relief too, so the days of sore red noses are gone and through. When you're after soothing softness, a nose in need deserves Puffs indeed.
Brian Clark, ABC News.
Let's talk about smart choices for your money. It's Straight Talk and Retirement on the Big 550 KTRS. Here are your retirement coaches, Jeff and Aaron Lapidus.
Woo! It's hour number 2.
Oh, that flew by.
Retirement.
Right?
Life is good, right?
That's right.
So we are here to answer your calls. We'd love to hear from you, 314-931-5877 or 84126 from the text line. Text line's been a little quiet this morning, babe.
It's Christmas Eve. People are
Christmas Eve is
Christmasing.
at night. This is the day.
I don't know. I feel like
And-
I'm in the holiday spirit from the moment that I awoke, ready to go.
Well, you know, I'm in the spirit too because yesterday, as you know, was a big day for your mom and I because it was number 43, the anniversary.
Congratulations.
43. It's a long time.
That's right. And as your mom would say, the prison sentence never ends. So,
Is it for life?
is it for life? If 43 years is life, I don't know what the heck is. But
I mean,
I'm very
43
fortunate.
years, I don't know how that's possible because mom's only like 25.
Well, you know, she's gone through many
She's like Benjamin
metamorphoses,
Button.
so it's okay. But it's been wonderful. So it's
Now
I'm very
everyone's
lucky.
dying to know, what did you all do for the big day?
Well, you know, your mom loves to try new places. So we're out in California, and so everything's almost a new place around here. So we found a French restaurant. There aren't that many that we like French food, and there aren't that many around. So we drove to it, and unfortunately, it doesn't. This is one of those restaurants that doesn't have its name on a sign.
Oh, wait, so you drove around it for a while. Part of the celebration was yelling at each other in the car, trying to find the restaurant?
Well, we had to get warmed up, you know. After 43 years, you know, it's always the same arguments anyways. So for dinner, but we had a very nice dinner, and it was fun, and it took a while. And then, of course, your sister flew into town.
I know she was delayed by hours and hours.
Yes, she was. And I was going to say, you know, being out here in California, and my younger daughter Jody's going to. Aaron's sister is a pathology resident at Stanford right now, and so she's a doctor. And so it's interesting having.
So they didn't even give her preference to get on the plane or
adult children.
anything. She just had to wait like everybody else.
The indignity of it.
Well, yeah. Well, she wasn't real happy about it, and of course she had a few woke comments because she's not awake yet.
What a sweet daughter to fly all the way to see you and Mom on your anniversary.
Yeah, it was 1 hour, so big deal.
It was nice.
But
I didn't.
We certainly had an interesting conversation. So we got to the house, and you know, Jody had been here about this time last year when we had purchased it, and you know, we stayed here for about 6 weeks. And she comes in and she goes, "Dad, it looks like your other house. It's just a smaller version." I'm like,
shocking.
Well, shocking, no. And she says to me, and you know, we said, well, you know, this is the junk drawer where all the stuff is, and this is where the sodas, etc. And she said, "Dad, where's your stash?"
Stash of what? Oreos?
Right. I'm like, what are you talking about, honey? She goes, "Where's your dope?" I'm like, "Honey, I don't have a stash."
Certainly not.
She goes, "Dad, you know, they deliver pot out here like it's pizza. It doesn't make a difference. You can order it and they'll deliver it." And I just said, "You know what?
You're too old for that."
Yes, I'm too old for that.
Too mature.
I said, "I have a little secret for you, young lady. You're grounded. Go to your room."
Yeah, you stay out there too long, you pick up a lot of these hippie habits.
Right, you're going to have to come back to the Midwest where it all makes sense.
Right. Exactly.
Well, I said to her, honey, you know, for someone that may have tried to do this smoke pot with their mother, forget it. You're not cool enough to be with me. So the answer is no. You can't do that. But, yeah, it's certainly a different lifestyle in California, to say the least. But not joining that revolution. Already been there, did that 50 years ago, so no big deal. But it certainly was fun. Our phone lines are open. We'd love to hear from you. 314-931-5877 or 84126 from the text line.
And
we have a text question.
We do.
Beautiful.
And were any changes in the omnibus spending bill made to the taxable threshold for Social Security benefits? Thank you.
I'm doing a quick. I didn't read anything about that.
But those are already indexed right now.
Right, they are.
Right.
Right.
The levels they're already indexed right now. So I don't think that they changed the formula or the levels, which only means that if you're working, you get to pay more, which is okay because the Social Security system certainly needs it, to say the least. Good question.
That is a good question. They did make a few changes to the Social Security, to some of the taxation. So what I would do is not everything when they pass legislation like this is completely fleshed out by the IRS. So you probably want to wait for a little bit to get some additional clarity on what all of the rules mean, aside from the ones that we mentioned, which are pretty clear cut in terms of required minimum distributions. Even those phasing in things that aren't going to happen until 2024, we don't want to bank on those things because they could always pass another omnibus bill and change it.
Well, they certainly will. And I think what's curious is, other than what we've described, everything else is put off for at least a year.
Right.
It's kind of silly. It's like, woohoo! We have this, I don't know, maybe that's because they're getting closer to the election, so it's like, oh, look at all the good stuff we're doing this year and next year and whatever.
Which is just in line with the, what was that other bill that the Biden administration proposed that passed, the anti-inflationary bill or whatever they called it?
Oh, I know what you're talking about. The Inflation Reduction Act.
Inflation Reduction Act, thank you. They phased in they were planning to phase in a lot of things regarding Medicare that were going to take multiple years to happen, which is similar to what they did with the Affordable Care Act in 2013, when they started to phase that in as well. So it gives them the leeway to make changes while still announcing changes have been made. Like that?
Yes.
No, when you said the Obamacare reference, I just remember everyone talking about repeal and replace, and that just
didn't happen.
It up and disappeared like a fart in the wind. It was gone.
I guess that it could. This week, a little earlier, Aaron, it slipped through the system, but I did get an email from David. And David said to me, I'm 63, and I would like to retire this coming summer. Good for you, David. Hope you do. I plan on calling your office to arrange a coaching session with you and Aaron to see if I'm a rock star. Love that. We have a lot of folks coming in for that specific purpose. I've been listening to the show for many years and should have come in sooner. Hear that a lot too. And really soon is really when you're ready. And so, David, I'm glad to hear that you're ready. As I am so close to retirement, should I move my funds out of the stock market? Well, they've obviously been reduced in the market anyways, and into cash to protect those previous gains. What do you think, babe?
Well, I mean, that's a great question that we hear pretty frequently, and I think the first thing to consider is if you knew you were going to spend all of that money in the next 12 months, then the answer would be yes. So that might mean, another way to say it is maybe you're moving all of the money that you plan to spend from your retirement account to cash for the next 12 months. But if you plan on withdrawing from those assets over a period of time, you certainly don't want to do that. That's how, you built those assets over time using the power of the market. We're going to need the power of investing and the market in order to maintain those assets over a long period of time, especially because you've moved now from contributions to distributions when you need to start replacing a portion of your income.
Yeah, so I would say the answer to that is definitely a no. And, when we visit to create your game plan, David, it's an algebra problem, truly. And we're going to determine how much income you require, if any, from your retirement and non-retirement assets every year to continue the lifestyle that you have today.
And I think the piece that a lot of retirement planning and income planning articles that you can read, or a lot of the assumptions made, leave out all of the fixed income that many people have available to them. Almost everyone has access to Social Security. If you don't have access to Social Security, most likely you're working within a private pension system, like many of our teachers are with the PEERS program, or some of the fire department having their own retirement plan benefits. So part of the formula that we're going to use is, first we determine how much are you spending every month. Then we want to gross that up for taxes, because the majority of your income is going to be taxable in retirement. Then we want to subtract your fixed income component, be it Social Security, if you have other income from, if you have rental properties, if you're someone that maybe does a little consultative work, if you have a spouse that's continuing to work, things like that. And that brings us to the number that's your actual deficit.
Right, and obviously, Social Security claiming strategies, and what we're really talking about is the when. If I have a spouse, what the timing is between the two of us are extremely important. I think most folks do not realize that in many cases, Social Security can be anywhere from 30 to 50% of your income needs. It may be able to satisfy that much. So the timing of taking that is extremely important. And again, it's different for everybody. The concept of, well, I'm going to put it off to age 70 sounds nice, but it's very rarely seen. Most folks do have a need for that income stream to make their retirement game plan work. And then at the same time, we know that, as Aaron was mentioning, if you're working part-time or you've just reduced your full-time work, or when are you actually quitting during the year, can have a big impact on not only what your Social Security benefit is, but the taxation of those benefits. So there truly is a thing called a Social Security claiming strategy, and it's, again, just a real important component of your overall algebra problem. The other thing that we spend a lot of time with on clients, and very proud to do that, and we know we're kind of unique in that situation, is about healthcare.
Right, and that game plan really can begin before you've made the decision to retire, because that could impact when you and your spouse plan to retire. Most couples don't retire at the same time. And what I've noticed over the years is that many couples are strategizing in terms of having the younger spouse either continue to work or having the older spouse continue to work until the younger spouse has reached Medicare eligibility, so we can reduce that overall expense. Or it's just important, if you've made the decision you're going to retire and your cash flow can support some additional expense, we could be talking between $1,000 and $1,500 a month for a couple to maintain health insurance pre-65 in retirement.
Yes, and I mean, there's so many variations here. And then also being confident that if you don't decide to take, if you don't have access or you aren't taking access, do I elect COBRA? Do I go to the exchange to get benefits? After 18 months, what happens with how do I elect benefits? Making sure we have that smooth transition to, if we have to, individual coverage, and then obviously eventually to Medicare is extremely important. And, we've got fantastic Frank in our office that helps our clients maneuver through those decisions. And with the cool part, again, for us is that, as I mentioned in our earlier segment, we've been in the employee benefits business for over 30 years. And so we understand the plans, we understand the rules, and so helping folks make that transition from work to retirement, it can be scary for you, but frankly, it's kind of fun for us to help you do that. So at the end of the day, when we started talking about making sure we have the cash flow, making sure that we have the financial protection instruments in place, especially on healthcare. We also then have to take a look at the vault, right, babe?
That's right. We want to make sure that in retirement you have access to easily available funds that are held at a local bank, that you're not being charged fees on, to hold in your investment accounts, but are easily accessible, so you can pay for emergencies, you can pay for upcoming expenses. Could be fun. You have vacations planned, you have house renovations planned. I don't know if that necessarily qualifies as fun, but you're not putting short-term needs at long-term risk. So it's important to, just like when you began your investing potentially all those years ago, you wanted to make sure you had 6 to 12 months worth of your expenses in cash, then start investing. Now we want to do the reverse, which is make sure you have that 6 to 12 months of cash still available, and then continue to invest the balance.
Yes. At the end of the day, having a game plan and actually doing one that is that's really going to be based on a 25 to 30-year time horizon is really important, because I think it puts you in a position where you can, if nothing else, we like to think, is sit back and enjoy the ride. Knowing what the stops are on the way, identifying pitfalls, if any, is important, and then really having the confidence that you're going to be able to do this is really where it's all at. So we hope that you'll come visit us. Dave, you've waited long enough for that game plan. Come and do that, and it's fun and free at our offices. All you need to do is give us a call, 314-863-0008. You'll talk to Kelly, our assistant, and she'll create a convenient day and time for you. If the roads aren't too good, we can always do it by telephone to begin with, or by Zoom, right, babe?
That's right. We're happy to accommodate whatever you might need, especially if you're still working, you'd like a later in the evening appointment and rather do that from home. We can set up a Zoom or a phone call, or you're always welcome to join us in the office, like my dad said, 314-863-0008, or you can log on to our website, jblfinancial.com, and click Contact Us in the upper right-hand corner. Send us a quick email, and you'll hear from us the very next business day. I think we should just take our first break of the hour.
Sounds good. Aaron and I and Rob will be right back after these messages.
What type of experience do you expect when choosing a real estate agent?
That's Jamie, sales agent with the Lauren Risley Realty team.
It's true. The real estate market is currently shifting. Mortgage interest rates are going up and homes are sitting on the market longer. If you're concerned about the future of real estate, don't be. It's important to have a full team of professionals behind you to help you every step of the way throughout this process. That's why our team is different. We're in constant communication with our vendors and mortgage lender partners about shifts in the market, changes in products offered, and personalized plans to help you be successful, not just in this market, but in any market.
Now really is a great time to buy or sell your home with Lauren Risley Realty. Call 314-775-0684. That's 314-775-0684, or email at hello@laurenrisleyrealty.com.
We are always here to help and are never too busy for your referrals.
Lauren Risley Realty.
Morrison Plumbing, Electrical, Heating, and Air has the people your neighbors know by name, so we'll let them introduce us.
Even in terrible weather, Jacob showed up on time and worked with us to find a solution for our HVAC system. If I could give more than 5 stars, I would.
Morrison gives you exceptional service, no exceptions. Tune up your furnace this holiday season for just $59, our lowest price ever. Schedule now at morrisonplumbing.com. Offer expires December 31st. Some restrictions apply.
This is Jeff Lapidus, the retirement coach. Wouldn't it be great to have a game plan, a real strategy, so that no matter what was going on in the stock market, the economy, or the world, that you could be confident about your retirement? Wouldn't that be great? If you're within 5 years of retirement, call me today at 314-863-0008. That's 314-863-0008. Or send me an email, jeff@jblfinancial.com, to arrange your free coaching session. Let's get started on your retirement game plan today.
Let's talk about smart choices for your money. It's Straight Talk and Retirement on the Big 550 KTRS. Here are your retirement coaches, Jeff and Aaron Lapidus.
Well, it's 10:23 here on the Big 550 KTRS. Talk Radio St. Louis. Woohoo! We're in hour number 2, Straight Talk on Retirement. I'm Jeff Lapidus, the retirement coach.
I'm Aaron Lapidus, the retirement coach.
And I'm Robert Markham, your fixed annuities and life insurance specialist. And it looks like we have another texter that just texted in, and they would like to know our market predictions for 2023. Well, just a quick word on 2022. We've certainly had a very eventful year this year between interest rates going up, inflation, supply chain issues, geopolitical concerns. It's been quite a ride. But Aaron, Jeff, why don't you guys take it away? What do you see in your crystal ball for the upcoming year?
I was going to say, we're definitely not market prognosticators. That wouldn't be our responsibility. But I would say I don't think that we've cleared a lot of those concerns off the decks from 2022. They seem to be following us into 2023.
If one of those were to come off the menu, would that be one of those catalysts that we would be looking for? possibly?
You know, I think we're going to have to see a few of those things come off the board to truly see the catalyst, because right now, and I think a lot of people have noticed this, when we're watching numbers being reported, first bad news was good news, then good news is now bad news. Bad news is both good and bad news. It's really hard to determine which direction the market's going to take based on the data that's being provided. And I would say that during my conversations with clients, which are, it's not their job to be in tune with what the market's doing, but many of us, many people follow, say like all of the data that's being reported is really confusing. How are we, how is the economy doing so well, but yet no one's going back to work? We're seeing all of these unemployment signs, yet unemployment keeps dropping. So we have a lot of competing factors going on at the moment.
No question about that. And unfortunately, because of our 24-hour news cycle that we have, it seems like the politics are having to weigh more heavily on investor sentiment these days. So go ahead.
I was going to say one of the things that we really can say, which I find to be interesting just as someone that's been in the financial services industry for just about 10 years now, we actually are seeing that rotation. How long it lasts is, I guess, someone else's guess, from the growth side of the market to value, which we haven't seen in the past. It flipped very briefly. I think it was for less than 2 months a couple of years ago, but we've really seen more of an extended time in which the value side of the market has been outpacing the growth side of the market.
Yes, and again, everything takes its turn, and that's just the way things are. And so, taking a more tactical approach to your investing is definitely something that is important for you, but also it's something that, at least I think our clients have an expectation is that we're watching the tea leaves. We're trying to read them as best as we can, and we know what the ultimate goal is, which is preserve, protect, and prudently grow those assets. And interestingly enough, I did have a call the other day during a coaching session, which I had Rob join me in, which was, Bob, he's 68 years old. He called, and he's been a client of mine for several years, and naturally, he's also still a very active listener to the show, which we appreciate, because we know that's really all of our clients have come from, is from hearing our show, or they're either friends or relatives of those folks. And he said to me that I'm interested in locking in interest rates, if we can, around 5%, that I've been hearing about and Rob's been discussing on the show. They're better than I can get from my bank and my credit union. He has two sources of where money's available at this point. One is in savings, which he says he has about $20,000, and he also has $20,000 in his Roth IRA. So his question really was, should I pull my money from my Roth so that I can add it to my other savings assets to make this into $40,000? And if I were, what are the restrictions I have with this new contract? And Rob, I know you can certainly speak to, benefits and restrictions to these fixed annuity contracts.
Absolutely. And some of the, I don't know if you call them disadvantages, but certainly things that you need to be aware of when going into a fixed annuity is you are going to have a surrender period. And your surrender period is going to go, in this case, for 5 years. So you're going to be limited in the amount of money you can pull from this contract. Now, you do have a corridor of 10% that you can pull each year. So you can empty 50% of the contract out by the end of it. But you just need to understand that this is not like I just sold a bunch of stock, it's a fully liquid type situation, because that is not the case here.
Yeah, and I think you were making, again, a very good point, is that unlike if we compare it to a certificate of deposit, which happens to be, again, FDIC insured, annuities aren't. They're based on the premium paying and financial strength of the insurance company, which is why you want to work with somebody good. You do have withdrawal ability to pull 10% a year, and then obviously any charges, surrender charges as they're called, would apply to amounts over and above that 10% during that year. The cool part for him, though, also was that the interest he would be earning, one of the advantages of this annuity contract, because it's being purchased with after-tax dollars, is that that contract would grow income tax deferred. And unlike an IRA, where they keep pushing back the age that you have to make required minimum distributions, the insurance company or the IRS doesn't require you to begin to pull money from these contracts until you're age 95, which is basically the settlement date. So that's something that could be really good. What I thought was interesting as I was thinking about this more, and we were having a discussion later, is just making a withdrawal. I haven't had breakfast, babe.
We can all tell we're all joining you for breakfast, I guess.
Okay. I'm all done now. Thank you. At least with this bite. So, making a withdrawal from your Roth is not a taxable event, which is good. But the money in there currently, because it's in a Roth, has a chance to grow income tax-free. So it wouldn't make sense, in my mind, for him to purchase an annuity inside of a Roth IRA, because you're basically having something that has deferred growth in an income tax-free vehicle.
Given that the scenario you just laid out, if you're not consuming the income, it really doesn't make sense to take any money out of a Roth IRA, because you're getting that income tax-free growth. So wouldn't it make sense in almost all scenarios, unless you needed that money, you needed to actually consume it, to leave it in there and let it continue to grow for as long as possible?
Yes, Rob, I think that's a very good point. And also what we find is that Roth IRA also happens to be another bucket, another source of capital, in many cases, which our clients are using for those bigger purchases like a car, okay, or like a major home renovation, or that RV. I have a lot of clients that are purchasing RVs. So, yes, invading the Roth doesn't make a lot of sense, especially making a withdrawal. And then at the same time, purchasing an annuity inside of a Roth, at least to me, also doesn't make sense at the same time. So what we had decided to do was to look at Bob's current after-tax account. He had several mutual fund positions that were in there, which are currently showing a short-term capital loss, because obviously we've given back a lot of the gains in previous years. And so our decision was, at that point, was to convert some of those assets and use them to assist in the purchase of this annuity, while basically leaving the cash in his Roth as really the source for the next purchase of equities, which would also be obviously in a tax-free environment, which is frankly better.
Because I think it's important just mechanically to point out to everyone, Bob had, $20,000 in savings, but $20,000 inside of a Roth. And because there are minimums to the amount that you are able to purchase with an annuity, we really had to make the decision, where does it make sense to put this annuity? And Dad, just like you mentioned, Rob, like you mentioned, it really doesn't make sense to pull the money out of the Roth where it was growing income tax deferred and create a situation where eventually, you are going to pay income taxes on the growth from the fixed rate of interest that you've been offered. Now you can put that all the way off until 95, but if it had stayed inside of the Roth until you were 95, you didn't have to touch it. So we really had to devise another strategy to meet the minimum purchase requirement, which was about $30,000 in this particular case.
You're right. And, we also really haven't even discussed what was Bob's objectives in terms of this Roth for his long-term financial planning. Now, is this something where he was hopeful that this could be a source of an inheritance for children or grandchildren? That would be income tax free. And if that's an important consideration, then invading the Roth, pulling money out of it, really would be very counterproductive.
Are there geese in the background?
Sounds like a vulture.
Sounds like you're in like a wildlife arena or something.
Well, I think that it's actually crows, but it's
crows.
I'm sitting out.
They
I'm
want
sitting
your
out
breakfast.
on my back porch here. Right, I'm sitting out on my back porch, and it's kind of nice out here right now. It's about 60 degrees.
Oh my God, you're killing us.
Well, yeah. Who wants to sit in a stuffy studio, right?
Well, actually, I would prefer to sit in the studio than outside right now, since it's subarctic out there.
Okay, well, just think I'm doing this for you, okay?
Doing it for you.
Right, interrupting breakfast, interrupting outdoor time, just.
Well,
and I didn't even come there for your anniversary. That's just, I'm a lucky child.
Well, now I was going to ask you, did you send along to our staff the picture that I sent yesterday?
Oh yes, we're going to be having that up on the face. It's going to be up on the Facebook. We had a wildlife encounter, or actually, we didn't have it. Dad, you had it at your California office. It was right next to the door, or the window, I guess. A nice picture of one of those coyotes.
Came right up to the window.
Right up to the window.
He made a friend.
We haven't named him yet, but I think it's. I'm sitting at. I guess they call it a sunroom, whatever it would be, a sun porch, that's enclosed, which I'm using as the office. And I'm sitting there, and I just look up, and then there's the coyote, and he's not more than 3 feet away from me. And I stood up and, of course, scared him a little bit, and he ran, etc.
The coyote was basically the size of Beowulf. It was massive.
It was very large, and I was debating the future of your mother, whether I should feed your mom to the coyote or take her out to French dinner.
On their anniversary.
Well, one's a better time.
Well, got to save the dog.
Exactly. Okay, so again, I think a lot of the job, and frankly, I think a lot of the fun that we have is finding the sources and really detailing the sources and the tax efficiency of the sources of where we're making these types of purchases, as well as making other financial decisions. It's a fun part of retirement planning, right?
Absolutely, and this is true of a lot of different instances, not just where do I purchase this potential annuity, where do I purchase CDs, but also, for example, even if we're talking about things like municipal bonds, people are very attractive to the tax-preferred nature of them, but if you buy them inside of your IRA account, you've eliminated the tax-preferred nature of it, because no matter what you purchase inside of your IRA, when it comes out, you have to pay ordinary income taxes.
Yeah, so it's a lot of fun being invited on the ride, right?
Absolutely.
And I think that's all about. Do we have any other text messages or calls at 314-931-5877 or 841-26 on the text line, or is it time for us to take our first break of the hour, or did we already do that?
We took the first one.
But
we have the second one.
We could certainly take the second break of the hour. The only comment we have so far is must be nice out in California, Jeff.
Yeah, must be.
It is.
All right, let's take our second break of the hour, and we'll be right back.
I'm Kevin Hovis with Hovis & Associates. We are an independent firm that is focused on your health and wealth for over 38 years to provide you with your best retirement. Servicing the St. Louis metropolitan area, we have locations in St. Louis and Festus to focus on your Medicare solutions and plan the retirement you dream about. Call toll-free today to schedule your appointment at 833-827-5173 or visit hovisandassociates.com for more information. Come see the Hovis difference. No contact options are available.
You wash your hands, you brush your teeth, but what about the nose? How do you clean your nose? With Navage. Navage uses powered suction to pull saline in one nostril, around the back of the nose, and out the other nostril, flushing out allergens, mucus, and germs. And it's why cleaning your nose, the body's air filter, is the next evolution in daily personal hygiene. People try Navage for lots of reasons. Sinusitis, colds, allergies, snoring, things that make it hard to breathe through your nose. But over time, they find that cleaning their nose makes them feel better, a lot better. Over 3 million Navage users have written more than 100,000 reviews, averaging 4.7 stars, saying, best product I've ever used, and amazing, I love my Navage. Navage helps you breathe better, sleep deeper, and snore less, but the biggest payoff is improved health. Navage is good personal hygiene and can help you stay healthier. At Walmart, Walgreens, CVS, Rite Aid, Target, and online. Navage, N-A-V-A-G-E. Clean nose, healthy life.
This is Aaron Lapidus, the retirement coach. Wouldn't it be great to have a game plan, a real strategy, so that no matter what was going on in the stock market, the economy, or the world, you could be confident about your retirement? Wouldn't that be great? If you're within 5 years of retirement, call me today at 314-863-0008. That's 314-863-0008. Or send me an email at aaron@jblfinancial.com to arrange your free coaching session. Let's get started on your retirement game plan today.
Now, back to Straight Talk on Retirement on the Big 550 KTRS. Here are Jeff and Aaron Lapidus.
Oh yeah, we're back here with some more Straight Talk on Retirement. 10:42, last 17 or so minutes on the show. We'd love to hear from you. 314-931-5877 or 84126 from the text line. You know, babe, I was surfing the internet the other day, fully clothed, of course, and
please add that. Yes.
Okay, so and what I noticed was, I don't want any mental imaging here. I saw an article on best deals on older cars. Now, being a older person, I thought this is kind of an interesting article. Let's take a look. You know, we don't really think about this, but many of the car makers have really made these cars to withstand, we used to think 100,000 miles, but actually 200,000 miles. And there was a whole list of these, and I thought was kind of interesting. Most of them, of course, were Japanese cars, but Camry Hybrid, as an example, they were showing that one basically that had 117,000 miles on it. Its lifespan was possibly 230,000 miles. It was 10 years old, and you could purchase it for about $14,000. What a great deal.
What's the retail value of that before we know it's a great deal?
Well, the retail value of a new Camry Hybrid is probably in the mid-40s.
Okay.
So buying one 10 years old, they've changed the styling on it a little bit, but the cool part about obviously the hybrid feature is that if you're doing any level of highway driving, you're really saving money on gasoline, which is kind of cool. We know that the Japanese cars tend to break down less than American versions, even though they've gotten better. But there was a whole list of these. A Honda Accord, one that had similar miles, you go for around $13,000. The Honda Fit, a Toyota Avalon, Civic, Prius, etc. Low prices on vintage, we'll call them vintage automobiles, and 100,000 miles. 10-year-old car today, maybe not be a bad deal for that beginning driver, maybe a grandchild you want to give a car to, or possibly your mom who drives like she's in demolition derby. What can I tell you?
Well, I think it's an interesting point, especially because at during 2022, we saw used car prices really skyrocket, and I think that was in response to the fact that the new cars also had increased purchase prices because of the lack of supply. And what I think has happened over the last several months is that used car prices have started to drop again. However, the availability of new cars is still relatively limited because we're still experiencing a lot of these chip shortages that are making it difficult for car manufacturers to produce the necessary supply to meet demand. So this might be a less expensive way for you to purchase your new vehicle.
Oh, absolutely. He brings up a great point, and you want to get something reliable, obviously, but you don't want to get, killed on depreciation. And a lot of these cars already have 100,000 miles in 10 years, so the depreciation has already been sucked out of them. So, you getting something reliable, we hope. I mean, with a Toyota or a Honda, you should, if past performance is any indicator, that you should get at least another 50,000 miles out of them. And, it's definitely an alternative for people that aren't looking for that big, huge car payment, especially now with interest rates going up.
Right, and a lot of companies are some companies are even offering more financing on used cars where, if you're participating, they'll even continue to knock some of the price down if you're willing to finance through their finance company.
Yeah, and, I was just going to add to that. Where very often, people say to us, "Oh, Jeff, Aaron, I just bought my last car," which we chuckle at because we know there is no such thing as the last car. But in that case, they're asking us, where do we get the money? Well, for most folks that we're working with, I think it's fair to say that on average, 80% or more of their assets, that is investable assets, are located in retirement accounts. And these are pre-tax accounts like IRAs. So what they're doing is we're really looking at, if I want to buy a new truck, which to me the prices are just chokers at this point. I mean, $70,000 or so for a new truck. We're looking at maybe having to withdraw as much as $90,000 to make a $70,000 purchase. At the same time, if we're looking at something that's a lot more affordable, $14,000-15,000, I mean that's certainly it's easier to swallow.
Well, this goes to something you were saying earlier about younger people, or really all people, having a lot of pulls on their income at certain points in their lives, and the average car payment now is upwards of $750 a month. I mean, that's almost a house payment, and it is a house payment for a lot of people. So it's definitely something that has grown to a point where these used cars, given their life expectancy, look really attractive.
Honey, am I allowed to give an update on my car?
Oh yes, the lease or buy saga of 2022 has come to a close, everyone.
Yes, it has, and as you know, if you listened earlier, my car just came. It was coming out of a 3-year lease. I took it back to the original dealership that I had acquired the car at, and frankly, they made me an offer that I had to refuse. I haven't purchased a car in 30 plus years because I really don't see the reason to buy depreciating assets. But at this point, what they were, basically the price that they were offering to sell me this car for was equal to, similar to the 3 years worth of lease payments I would have made on a new one. And I wasn't real happy about this, and I was about to turn the car. I was basically about to we were going to cut him a check for about $35,000 for this car. It just so happened that the night before, it was Saturday night, I'm out to dinner with your mom. We're out in Chesterfield, and of course, it was a little bit dark, and I hit a curb. Okay. Well, I did. It like near Clayton and 141. So I find out I have a flat tire. I'm on the entrance ramp to 141, and I'm pulled off on the side of the road. And so, of course, I was very careful about that because I didn't want to, most people die when they're getting hit, outside of their cars and et cetera. So I was careful about that, and it took about an hour and a half for us to, for somebody to come. But the next morning I had it towed to the dealership, and it was a dealership that it was actually closer than the one that I had purchased this car, or I was going to purchase this car from. And they're changing the tire for me. Of course, this is great because I have to pay like $300 for a new tire.
So now you're like, I'm definitely going to have to buy this car.
Well, yeah, I'm like, oh my God, and I'm turning this car in, and of course, I don't do that. It was getting ready to do its 30,000, oh my God, warranty check. So I had to pay, like another $500 to have this all done. So I'm thinking, okay, at least the car's ready for me to take it. And I said to the sales guy, I was in the showroom, I'm like, do me a favor, look at my car and make me an offer that I won't refuse, and maybe I'll lease a new car. So they look at the car, they offer me $6,000 more than the previous dealership did. And I took that money, and frankly, it made more sense for me again to lease the next car. So all I would suggest here is moral of the story is that don't go.
You don't need to actually
$300.
Right. You don't actually need to hit the curb to do this, right?
Right. It was the $6,000 flat tire.
Exactly.
Who gets paid for a flat tire? That's impressive work.
It is.
Well, that's all in good fun, but the bottom line is get a second opinion. There obviously are a lot of folks that are out there that are offering cars. Usually you'll get your best trade-in deal from a dealership that sells those types of vehicles. Well, Toyotas to Toyota dealerships, Chevys to the GM dealerships, etc. And I just got a better deal, so it's good. It's good to shop.
It's good to shop, and I also think you make a good point here, which is it's also good to keep an open mind, which is you had essentially already made your decision, but in light of new information, you were willing to make a new decision.
Yeah, and I think that really gets down to something that we try to stress on the show is that with more information, assuming it's good information, you can always make better choices, whether it's financially, whether it's non-financial choices, etc. It's always good to get additional input. So that's a good thing. So looking at used cars, maybe they got more tread on the tires left than you think, right?
Absolutely.
Right.
And these are depreciating assets. Let's keep that in mind.
Right. Just try to get from one place to another.
Exactly.
Absolutely. So, babe, I was going to say we've got about 8 minutes left in the show.
Mm-hmm.
Where do you want to go?
It's your anniversary. It's Christmas. I'm going to let you decide this time, Dad.
Boy, I'll tell you what.
Aren't you lucky?
You really, you know what? You've gotten really good. That's all I can say. You've gotten really good. So why don't we talk about one of my favorite subjects, which is creating legacies for children, and more importantly, grandchildren.
Well, I definitely like the idea of creating legacies for your children.
Well, and I like the concept of grandchildren, so we'll just kind of let that hang out there.
Please,
okay?
let us let that.
So, we visited with Joe and Sally. Joe's 69 and Sally's 68. They've been clients for a while, and they had some questions about when they were required to make distributions from their IRAs to satisfy the IRS rules. And obviously, these are a little bit in flux. So what's cool for them is that obviously they now can wait. Not until 72 originally, as we thought, but now to age 73.
Right, because Joe and Sally are only 69 and 68 respectively, so they hadn't reached required minimum distribution age yet.
So tell us a little bit about their stuff.
So between their accounts, they had IRAs that totaled about $1.6 million, and between the two of them, they were taking about $32,000 per year to continue to make their life work, which means that's only about a 2% rate of withdrawal at the moment. We know that once they reach age 73 now, they're really going to have to double that number, closer to $64,000 per year, because the first required minimum distribution is just shy of 4%.
Yes, and we also know that the only way that they can reduce the taxation on those IRA distributions is by having us make their charitable contributions for them through their IRA, as compared to us sending them the money and them obviously making the contribution themselves.
Right, and Joe and Sally were charitable, but I don't think they had planned to donate $32,000 per year, which is essentially the difference between what they need, what they're taking on an annual basis, versus what they'll be required to take about 4 years from now, at least for Joe.
And so we know that they don't really need all the money, but they also are wondering what could they do to help their children and their grandchildren.
Right, because the biggest issue that they face at the moment is their children, their grandchildren, whomever their beneficiaries are, paying the taxes on the IRA assets that Joe and Sally did not consume during their lifetime. So whatever they pass on to their children and grandchildren is going to be taxable, just like we talked about in the first hour of the show.
Yes, and it's also not unreasonable to assume that the shrinkage that would occur because of taxes on average might run as much as 25%, assuming that nobody was taking a large amount. So, with 1.6 million, they currently have 2 children and they have 2 grandchildren. So, using simple math here, 1.6 million divided equally among the 4 beneficiaries is about $400,000 per beneficiary IRA account, and the taxes that would be due over that period of time, a 10-year period, might be as much as $100,000. Now, Joe is in good health, and unfortunately Sally isn't. So I tasked Rob to look at maybe some life insurance options for them as a way for them to expand not only their giving, the amount they were going to give to their children and grandchildren, but also maybe to also help pay the taxes on the IRAs that the kids would be taking.
Absolutely. And Joe is age 69, non-smoker, standard rate for a level guaranteed premium to 100 was $3,600 a year per 100,000. So if we chose that strategy, $14,000 per year would create 4 $100,000 contracts, well within the $32,000 RMD budget that he has beginning when he turns 72. 73. Thank you. Rule changes.
Yeah, so we're talking about, but what if?
What if Joe doesn't want to pay for 100 more years?
I don't blame him. No, if
and certainly, a restricted strategy of maybe paying for 10 years would be something that seems to be something that is popular with the folks that we're talking to.
Absolutely, and we could do a 10 pay, meaning you pay for 10 years and then the contract doesn't require any more premium. That would boost the annual premium from $3,600 a year to $7,500 a year. But you would still be within the $32,000 annual RMD budget that Joe has to work with.
So I think this is kind of an interesting and, frankly, for them, an effective solution. We're taking money, after-tax money, from distributions that they're not using, and we're magnifying the benefit in lieu of necessarily maybe making gifts to the kids or the grandkids.
Right, and really what we're doing is we're not going outside of the budget that they're already going to have to consume some of this money. Now they could reinvest a portion of it. They could make the decision as to how much life insurance they'd like to purchase, but we're really able to work within their financial means. And with all of that, I think it's time to wish everyone a very Happy New Year, a Merry Christmas, a Happy Holidays. And we, just like today, will be back next week from 9 to 11 a.m. to chat with everyone in the new year. Have a good day.
The opinions voiced in this show are for general information only and are not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations for any individual. To determine which investments may be appropriate for you, consult with your attorney, accountant, and financial advisor or tax advisor prior to investing. Securities offered through LPL Financial, member FINRA SIPC. Investment advice offered through Private Advisor Group, a registered investment advisor. Private Advisor Group and JBL Financial Services, Inc. are separate entities from LPL Financial.
Be listening next week at 9 for more Straight Talk on Retirement with your retirement coaches, Jeff and Aaron Lapidus, on the Big 550 KTRS.
From ABC News, I'm Dave Packard. An American deep freeze. Most states experiencing